Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfchase Toyota Insider. I'm Jeff Brightwell alongside Matt Reiser. And, Coach, as we've talked about, ebbs and flows in a 56-game season right now. You're on a really nice run here. 4 in a row. You moved yourself back in position into 4th place in the American. But let's go back to last week's non-conference win over Ole Miss. You did that on campus at FedEx Park out on Fogelman Field.
Yeah, we talked about it. We've been pretty consistent on kind of having a good week and then a bad week, a good week and then a bad week, and then obviously the last couple of weeks we'd had back-to-back bad weeks. So again, we talked about it. Last week is what a great opportunity to have Ole Miss at home there at Fogelman at FedEx Park, and to have those guys come in there, and also we knew the atmosphere was going to be electric, and a great opportunity to get back there and prove ourselves that hey man, we've got a club that can play with anybody. So obviously did that there on Tuesday night. Just really proud of the guys. We knew we were a little maybe short-staffed from a pitching standpoint. We didn't have anybody who was going to have length. We were just going to be kind of a chopped-up kind of outing where had multiple relievers that would go out. Gave Logan Rushing the start and kind of trying to get him back in that role as opposed to being out of the bullpen. And I thought he got us off to a good start. We knew it would be kind of a shorter leash to him, right, as an opener. But I thought our staff threw really well against a really good offense there in Ole Miss. And then, offensively, we just found a way to manufacture. We know it would probably be a similar situation for them. They had kind of rover the midweek guy that we saw, Riley Maddox, into their Friday night role, and once they got in the SEC play, and so we knew it would be kind of chopped up the same way for them. But thought our guys did a good job just kind of taking each with their own, right, and then finally throwing that final punch there with Jonas Sutton, that double down the line. That was the ideal offense. Hey, man, execute a few things, get some guys on, throw the final nail in that coffin, and just a great win there on Tuesday night.
The atmosphere was great, but it was a good game for a lot of people to watch, especially it was their first Tiger baseball game, or they only come out a few times a year because let's face it, you had a big inning in there, so you put up a lot of runs, and throughout the game on both sides, it wasn't one of the midweek games where you see a lot of walks and sloppy play. It was either strikeout, hit, or a hard hit ball for the out. So every at-bat had something.
Yeah, there was a lot of substance to the game, right, from the beginning to all the way to the end. Like you said, it was a tight ball game. We were able to run the double squeeze and execute in a tight situation and take a one-run lead. And then, again, a chance to kind of manufacture a run or two to continue to extend that lead, and then through that last punch over that big inning, with the 5-run 7th inning. So, and then to be able to finish it off, right? I mean, go out there, Sanders goes out there with no problem at all to finish off that ball game and get us a nice win like we talked about. In the post game, a lot of people had a lot of excitement about beating an SEC opponent, obviously being at home, right, in that type of environment. But hey, man, chalk it for what it was. It was a midweek win, but a good way to get the week started going into a vital conference weekend at Rice.
When you came to Memphis, one of your things, I remember the press conference, you said, hey, AutoZone's been a good partner to us over the years. Used to have a big University of Memphis connection where they were with Allie Prescott and the gang, but you want all the games at FedEx Park out on Fogelman Field. Number one, it's where you play. It's home field advantage. And then when you look at the future economics-wise, if there's ever going to be any kind of expansion or continued upgrades, you need to press the big games at that ballpark and get 100%. People in there used to going, and again, an entertaining game. And there were some, not to get into too detail, there were some, not just a good crowd, some big people there that I heard saying, hey, kind of like this atmosphere. I might want to get involved here.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's what we're trying to build is that atmosphere, and you got to give people a vision, right, to see it. And so when you come in there for the Ole Miss game and you see that visual of what it has a chance to look like every game, right, when we were starting to play at a more consistent level and competing for championships and get this thing rolling, that's what it has a chance to look like, So, and again, there's just something about the environment being on campus. In my years of coaching, we've done conference tournaments off campus at, some really nice minor league facilities, and those are enjoyable. But when you put 1,500 to 2,000 people in that kind of seating, right, it just doesn't seem like the same energy. You put those 2,000 people there at FedEx and Fogelman, it's a really good atmosphere that brings electricity not only to the dugout but also to the fans as well.
Turn around, you go to Rice, and it's a little bit of a different trip. Usually when you travel, you don't get out as early, but you had a very early travel day. Allowed you to have an early afternoon practice, actually late morning down at Rice. I thought that setup was really good. That's not going to happen every road trip, but when you went down there, it was good. There was no rush. seemed like a relaxed but hard practice there that day, and I think set you up for the weekend.
Yeah, Al does such a fantastic job for us, man, and just the operational side of things. That we can focus on the coaching aspect of things. And yeah, like you said, we were on the ground at 8:05 there in Houston before most people even probably got out to travel on Thursday. So, but it was great. I thought it was a really neat environment for us. Had the early morning, got on there, ready to rock and roll. We were able to get some rest Wednesday night because we played on Tuesday, obviously. So by the time we got in there and got a good practice in, you get a little bit of barbecue in, and by 1 o'clock, you're set for the day. So I thought those guys just it gave us a lot of time to be able to kind of reset, get some rest in there, and give us a chance for some academics too, right? I mean, that's the important part of this is we are student athletes. So you got to be able to find time and space to be able to do that. So it wasn't like an all-day travel day. We were traveling for 6 hours, a connection flight here. We were able to get a direct flight in there, get our business done, right, and then also get some other business on the academic side of stuff as well. So really good to see, obviously to bounce back, and then, obviously go out there Friday. I mean, we don't play till Friday night, so had our time Friday to kind of, again, do some things academically, and then also get our mind right for the weekend.
So it's kind of 3 old school baseball games when you look at it. You don't see this happen a lot in college baseball over 3 days. 3 low-scoring games, pitching dominated, but it's not because the hitting wasn't good, because the hitters, I think, had the right approach. But they're 1-run games. You win all 3 of them. You get the sweep. You play tied for the 5th longest game in school history, the 15-inning marathon on Friday night. You come back Saturday, then you cap it off. That's good for what you're trying to establish here, and especially in your first season, because you can start to see a little bit of the maturity of the team. There's no panic in a 1-run game late in the game. Now they're in there doing what they need to do to finish games off.
Well, that was part of the component of trying to build a roster, right? Guys that are a little bit older that have some experience in those moments, but expect to win in those moments too, right? So that's why you bring the Dante Stewarts of the world in there, right? And you start mixing it in with the Curtises and the Baskins and the Dave Warrens and those type of guys, right? And Duboses that all those guys are veterans that they expect to win a ball game, as you kind of build that through the season. So I thought Friday night was imperative to win. Again, a 15-inning game. If you're going to be out there that long, might as well win it. So I thought they did a great job of just staying resilient. We get the big knock there late in the ball game by Will Marcy, who had a fantastic game there on Friday night. Had a big double to kind of take the lead there, 3-2, obviously, and then they throws a big punch there in the 15th inning to win 4-3, and then to be able to finish that thing off. I mean, we had multiple guys that had to go out there. We were able to throw Sanders, who normally closes it. We have the pass ball happen, and obviously the sack fly, so they kind of get that run to tie it up, and then you're kind of in between on what to do, right? You want to leave Sanders in there because he's your guy, right? Don't want to give up any runs. And the same sense is you don't want to burn for the weekend either, right? Because you saw how imperative it was to have him there on Sunday to finish off a 2-1 win. So again, just a great heavyweight bout. JT Durham was fantastic for us out of the bullpen. Gave us exactly what we needed, and then be able to hand that ball over to Curtis. You look at last week in the 4 games. Sanders and Curtis both threw in 3 of those games. With Stepper going down last weekend, we knew that would put a little bit more toll on them. But man, you talk about just gutsy effort by both of those young men. Curtis to play like he did defensively all weekend, swung the bat really well this weekend, and then Sanders obviously to give us 3 outings and finish that thing off yesterday like he did. Just a fantastic effort on all boards.
Curtis gets a win and a save, but as you mentioned, I think maybe the biggest thing he did were a couple of the catches. Most importantly, the Saturday game. Yeah. Going to the bottom of the night, leadoff man looks like he's got a line drive hit up the middle. He kind of comes out of nowhere. You guys had him position up the middle a little bit, but takes the leadoff man off the bags.
Yeah, he just, in all honesty, we've swung the bat well for majority of the part of the year, and that's how we've kind of won games, right? We've seen a lot of these, 14-12 wins or 10-7 wins and that kind of stuff, but, we've lacked in the category of just really putting those 2 components of pitching and defense together in the same game. We've pitched some games with poor defense. We played some really good defense with some poor pitching in some games, but to put those 2 components together, to do it for 4 games straight, I think is a huge reason why we're sitting here at 4-0. So, I know fans love offense. They love home runs, right? But the way that ballpark was playing this weekend, we had a wind blowing in at 15 to 20 miles an hour for Friday and Saturday, still blowing in on Sunday, not quite as hard, but that ballpark played huge. And so you got to be able to adapt to your environment. And if we did not play defense and we did not pitch the way we did and gave away too many free passes, we would put ourselves in a real predicament, where we could have been 0-3. The fact that we did what we did, the fact that we were able to continue to execute, and especially in high pressure situations, defense. I mean, if you just go back and break down some of the fundamentals of the game, right? Some of the bunt situations that they had, some of the plays we made at the plate to cut down the tie and run, the go-ahead run at the plate. Just a really fantastic job of our defense and our pitchers to be able to do that all week.
And in the last week, now you put Shane Cox over at first. You've kind of tweaked a few things, kind of learning on the job, but he's getting the job done, but kind of tweaked some things and solidified some things over there.
Yeah, I mean, we know Compton's one of the biggest bats in the conference, right? There's big power there. Shane Cox is a guy who played a lot there last year at first base, a veteran who's got a lot of confidence in his defensive game. And we've told him straight up, I mean, we need you to be better offensively so we can put you in there besides just a defense replacement. So the energy he brings to the infield and to that defense, I think he's a huge reason, a huge piece of us, playing at the level of defense that we did this past weekend. He's always in tune to what he's doing. He's athletic. He can really move around the bag over there. There's been a couple moments that we've kind of got into him a little bit, right? But he's responded really well every single time. Continue to be super consistent when he goes back out there, and then he's brought some offense to the table as well, right? I mean, so now we kind of address, hey man, if you want to be in there and be able to start and move Compton to the DH spot, you've got to be more offensive. He did that for us this past weekend. Had a really good week, obviously against Ole Miss, but through the weekend as well, had some really big hits for us.
4 games this week. Hopefully, depending on the weather, you'll be over at UCA on Tuesday night. Central Arkansas always has a really solid program. And then this weekend, you're back home. Should be really nice weather to come back home. And now you got a little buzz going again with the 4-game win streak. And all of a sudden, here comes San Antonio sitting all alone in first place. So a lot will be focused on your ball club this weekend.
Yeah, well, and this is where we're looking for that consistency factor, right? I mean, good week this week. We went 4-0, fantastic. But, hey, man, on to the next week, right? What have you done for me lately? And that's just the idea of the business, right? So, yeah, we got a good Central Ark team that we'll go over to Conway tomorrow to go play those guys. Obviously, said, like, weather is always a factor. We actually thought we could probably get rained out Sunday against Rice. And, all of a sudden you look up, it's gorgeous. So, Mother Nature's always undefeated. We'll go when she says go, but a club that beat Mississippi State last week in the midweek, right? That was number 21 in the country. Again, Nick Harlan does such a good job with that club. They're going to show up consistently every single day, and they had a tough weekend. Where we won 3 games by 1 run, I think they lost all 3 games by 1 run this past weekend at a good Florida Gulf Coast on the road. So again, we just got off the phone. It's a sport where you continue to show up just every day, continue to muster forward, continue to try to make those guys better, and they'll be ready to rock and roll and be able to respond there on Tuesday for us. So, and then like I said, you got a great weekend coming up with San Antonio. I know Coach Hallmark very well. I got a lot of respect for him. He's always had tough teams. He was in the Southland with us. He completely rejuvenated that Incarnate Word program over there in San Antonio, and then also made the move over to UTSA. But when he was in the league in the Southland, I mean, you knew what you were getting. You were getting a team that's going to come out and just compete. There's some talented players, obviously, that he was able to recruit, but more importantly, he always got those guys to play at a level a little bit above their talent level. So, and you're seeing that again, right? If you looked at them early in the season, the non-conference, you probably would have said through the non-conference, yeah, they probably finished middle of the pack. All of a sudden, you look up, they beat East Carolina. They're sitting at 7-2 in the conference. Just again, another team that comes in. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. They play like the attitude that you want them to, and the chip on the shoulder that you want them to. So it'll be a really fun weekend. It should be a great atmosphere this weekend.
All right, Coach. As always, we appreciate it. We'll see you at the ballpark.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
That is Matt Reiser. I'm Jeff Brightwell with the Wolfchase Toyota Insider on the Memphis Tiger Network.